Hey everyone, Stephanie Lucrezio coming to you live tonight on this 1 year anniversary of our amazing victory in Trenton, New Jersey, the Battle of Trenton. So I'm going to wait for a couple of people to pop on. As you're hopping in, say hello. Let me know if you are New Jersey strong. Just type in what area in New Jersey you're in. If you're coming in from a different place, definitely let me know where you're coming in from. It has been the most insane year. Like, I feel like it happens years ago, and at the same time, I feel like it happened 5 minutes ago. So for those of you that were there with me on that most amazing day, I just am so happy that we had that experience. It's definitely been a source of hope for me in those moments where I want to rip my hair out of my head, literally. So as you're popping on, thank you guys. Hey, Diana. Hi, Marilyn. Oh my God, we have Jersey, all different parts of Jersey. Just let us know where you're popping in from. I have an amazing guest, which I'm going to introduce in a couple of moments. I just want to wait for some people to come on. Hello, Barbara. So good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Today, I woke up with a renewed sense of hope, a renewed sense of like passion and excitement for the work that we're doing. I have to say that this last week has been really challenging on multiple levels, physically, emotionally, mentally. There's been a lot, and I talked a little bit about, observing versus absorbing, and that's literally been my mantra along with the Serenity prayer. Hello, Laura. Yes, welcome. So Bob's is going to be receiving, if they have not already, legal paperwork. I am taking legal action for the discrimination that I experienced there. So no updates yet, but that's where it's headed, and I will definitely give you more updates as they come. I bought a couch. I did not buy it from Bob's. I got it from Raymore and Flanagan. It's on its way. So I'm not sure when it's going to be here, but we actually just ordered it tonight. So it's really funny that you guys are asking me about my couch story on the day that I ordered it. So in any case, now that we have a bunch of people coming on, hello, everybody, New Jersey, Chicago, holy crap. I love the fact that we have this amazing global family, and that leads me to my introduction. So Susie, who is going to be popping on in a moment, is someone that 2 years ago I did not know existed, which would make me sad if I didn't get to meet this amazing, amazing woman. So out of chaos and frustration and sleepless nights and losing friends and all the things that happen when you do this work, you meet some of the most amazing people. And Susie is definitely one of them for me. When I met her last year in Trenton on multiple occasions, being there so many days, I just knew that this is a person that I wanted in my life. She is a warrior mom to an amazing son. She does so much for so many people, a health coach. She does so much behind the scenes. She works with me in the Freedom family. She's like a sister that from another mister, as I like to say. She also runs initiatives for family health, and I'm just so excited. We've been talking about doing this, Susie, so I'm so happy that you're here. She's in Washington, so we have both coasts covered now, and I'm so happy. Welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me here tonight, Steph. I'm so excited, and I loved your introduction, and I too, as soon as we met, it was like we're instant forever friends. So I'm really excited.
We don't see each other anymore because of all the COVID crazy.
I know. It was so often that we were getting to get together. I mean, I was out there in November, December, January, and now it's like
you didn't live here. I'm like, wait a second, you're always here. Like, how does that like I fly.
Yeah, I fly. And drove one time.
Yeah, you fly all over the place. And this woman, like, she's everywhere. She goes everywhere. She's on the calls. She gets on the meetings. She's giving testimony in different places. I literally am amazed by you. And I know that we've had this conversation offline, but talk to us a little bit about the work that you've been doing and what got you into the medical freedom movement and now the freedom at large movement as we move into 2021.
Yeah. So what got me involved is my son was injured by vaccines. I never knew that there was a medical freedom movement. I never knew that there was issue with vaccines. I never knew that that this was even a life. I planned on having children and being a mom and staying at home and gardening and cooking and, being like Little House on the Prairie. I grew up on an island where everyone knew everyone. And so that's what I planned for my life to be. And then my son was injured by vaccines and everything just turned upside down. And so I started realizing how incredibly just out of touch our medical system really was. My son had so many issues, and I kept just being told to give him more and more drugs just over and over again. And there was literally never a point where it was like, here's something that could help deal with the root cause of this issue. It was constantly just masking symptoms. So eventually I got connected with an incredible organization called Generation Rescue. It's JB and Lisa Handley's organization, and learned about really restoring the body from that holistic standpoint. I spent several years doing that, and then being able to work with other families and helping them with their children as well. Then in 2015, we had the West Coast attack, as I call it. In Washington, we had House Bill 2009. In Oregon, we had House Bill 442. And in California, we had SB 276. And those are to remove the philosophical exemptions for kids to attend school and daycare. It was a huge attack on our parental rights. And I knew I had to do something. So I started doing everything I could. I was calling legislators and sending emails. My son was still pretty severely impacted at that point by his injury. And so going down to the Capitol wasn't something I could do very often, as I could never leave him. So he went with me wherever I went. But I learned about medical freedom then. And I just, once you know, you can't unknow. And once you have this information, you can't keep it to yourself. You have to share with other people. You have to give them the warning so that they can have informed consent. It's just something that so many people don't have. I didn't have, and I am going to work for the rest of my life to make sure that people have that opportunity.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even know what informed consent is. And I think that that's one of the saddest things, is that people just think that because a doctor tells you something, that it's the right thing to do. And, we learn about bioindividuality as health coaches. It's one of the first things that we're taught, that we are all these biocomputers and that there's no two formulas that work in the body the same way. So someone's perfect food could be another person's poison, but you don't have these informed consent conversations to really go over the risks and benefits of vaccines. If you think about like going for surgery, going on a medication, like there is a conversation between doctor and patient that occurs that tells you all about basically like a risk benefit analysis. That's what this healthcare system is all about. And we know from both of our experiences, when my son had Lyme disease, there's not a lot of conversations about preventative stuff. It's all about, this is the Band-Aid, take this pill, put this cream on, give the Tylenol. There's never like a conversation to say, look at the root cause. And I think that the most amazing thing about our movement, when I think back to last year, I remember walking through moms. And when you said that you brought your son with you, so many moms and parents, grandparents, like had their children with them. I mean, children that they were breastfeeding in the pouring rain, underneath blanket covers, no access to bathrooms. I mean, by January 13th, we had gotten our shit together and we had like a little village down in Trenton, like let's keep it real. We had food trucks. We had, that little trailer that you can go in the breastfeeding suite. Like we learned our lessons and we were prepared. But the first time that we were there, like it was mayhem and chaos. Like people were doing all kinds of stuff. You've been all over the country. Can you talk to me a little bit about that day in New Jersey, having gone to so many capitals, having been through all of these different bills and protests? What was the catalyst in New Jersey? What was the thing that you'll look back and be like, that's the thing that made us have the outcome that we did?
It was really interesting because I kept hearing this term that I'd never heard before, and it was New Jersey Strong. And I was like, New Jersey Strong. Wow, that's really what this is. I have never seen so many people ever show up at the Capitol to stand outside. I am a West Coast girl. Like we don't like to even stand outside in the rain, but we were outside in December and January in Trenton, New Jersey. It was freezing cold for 8, 10, 12 hours at a time, chanting with, like chapped lips, and we couldn't feel our fingers. And it didn't matter though. It was almost like the intensity of that just kept energizing us more. And people were getting louder on the bullhorns, and people were singing Amazing Grace and doing all these incredible things. And it was just absolutely amazing. It is a time that I will never forget. I took probably 1,000 photos over those few days that we did that in those couple of months. And I look back at those all the time, and it's just still gives me the chills thinking about it, because you guys were so unified. All of these different groups from across the state came together to really make this happen in Trenton and to kill this bill. So that's what I'm going to remember. That just New Jersey strong.
And I love that you talk about unity, because I look at those pictures that you took, the pictures that like are floating around, the aerial photos. I mean, the mass amounts of people and the results of hearing, because I was on the inside for most part of the day. Like I did pop out every once in a while, but I knew I had people outside covering what was happening, and I wanted to make sure that we could hear what was happening on the inside. We had this whole chain of commands events with Twitter this, people holding up signs through the window to tell you what to chant. So it really was this effort that happens across the board. There was no ego. There was no political parties. There was no separation of religion or, you know, your gender or what your sexual preference was, what color your skin was. It really was an all hands on deck effort. Let's put everything aside. Personal differences, groups that have never worked together and have not worked together since, work together on that day. And I think it's really something to look at on the 1 year anniversary of where we are now in the world, as a reminder for not only the people listening, but for both of us, because it's a very polarizing time, different than anything I've felt or seen ever in my 42 years on this earth. There's a new term, Earth 2, by the way. I don't know where it is, but if there's a place and the president is not who is supposed to be coming in, I will
sign me up.
Earth 2? Yes. But yeah, is Earth 2 a nicer place? Are there more unified, humans that can work together and see past political viewpoints and differences in opinions? Because the thing that scares me is divide and conquer. So if these bills keep popping up across the country and we're in the place where we are now, that scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I think that what you said, though, Steph, is just so powerful, because it's true. These groups all came together to work together in a way that they never had and they haven't since. But that's what we need again now. We need for everyone to come together. There aren't state lines anymore. This is an entire nation issue that we have to come together, pull all of our talents, and do everything that we can to support one another. And that's one of the things that I love about you, is you are the solutions, the strategy kind of person. You're always out there encouraging people and giving people that hope. And that's what we really need. We need to have that positive light to go towards, because it's really easy to feel overwhelmed. There's a lot going on. Just like you said, there's so much going on. Who ever thought that we would be where we are right now? I thought 2015, I thought that was our most difficult year fighting for freedom. I had no idea that 2020 would ever even be a possibility of happening. So it was a huge wake-up call. And now we have to look at each other and just say, okay, we are going to do this. We're going to stick together, come together, fight together, be unified as the freedom family that we are.
Absolutely. And, talk to us a little bit about what happens in Washington, what's happening on the West Coast, because I think one of the things that's so important as we move forward is to not only shed the party lines, but to also shed state lines. Because one of the things that we found a lot of success is connecting across state lines to hear about things that are happening, bills that are out there, good bills, bad bills, bills we want to sponsor, bills we want to kill, and being able to look at what worked, what doesn't work, what we're working on, and to collaborate together. So where are you in Washington with your freedom for choosing religious, medical, whatever it is?
So right now in Washington State, we're really fortunate in the fact that we have 4 exemptions for most vaccines for kids to attend school and daycare, except for MMR, which we lost last session. But the rest of them we have exemptions for as of today. Unfortunately, Governor Inslee has decided to close off the Capitol campus to public involvement. and has put up barricades around the Capitol and called in the National Guard. So the reason that we have been successful in Washington State is very much the reasons that you guys were out there in Trenton and New Jersey is because we showed up. We showed up, we spoke up, we drew our line in the sand. We went and followed committee members. If they said, a legislator said, we don't have time for a meeting with you today, we'd find out what committee they were in and we'd stand outside the door and we'd wait for them when they came out and then caught them and be like, oh, I just want to chat with you real quick. I'll walk with you. The elevator? Sure, that's fine. We can go. So that's what you do because that's what you have to do because there's nothing that you won't do to protect your children. Like we are parents. This is why we're here. We bring our children to the world and we nurture and protect them.
Right.
It is our ultimate job.
And, one of the questions that I have is people think about the bills that we're talking about with religious freedom. A lot of people don't even understand how religious freedom applies to something like a vaccine exemption because they think that, there has to be ways for people to achieve medical exemptions to say, okay, well, I didn't tolerate this well. I developed an autoimmune situation. I have a gene mutation. I have whatever it is, whatever illness, asthma, certain allergies to food. Can you talk a little bit about what you've learned when it comes to medical reasons to be exempt to taking a vaccine?
Yeah, so in California, speaking of West Coast, they passed a bill last session, SB 276, and that limited medical exemptions so that you had to have had a prior anaphylactic reaction to a vaccine. You had one of three options of severe adverse medical events, and that was the only way that you could get an exemption, and that was only to that vaccine. And if you had other children, they were not exempt from those vaccines. So that's that slippery slope when you start to lose those exemption options that you think that it's going to be okay. Okay, well, my child has an exemption. They've had this adverse reaction, so I'll be able to get a medical exemption. But you can't because they continually limit the criteria. And then they go after the doctors that give them the most legitimate, hard-earned medical exemptions of kids that have had seizures immediately following vaccines. Children that have been hospitalized immediately after following vaccines. Those doctors then give those children exemptions from vaccination, and then those doctors are put on a list. And if they give out more than 5 exemptions in a year, then they're put under review. The medical board looks at them. They are crucified. So doctors do not have the freedom to treat their patients as individuals any longer. Doctors have to toe a line and basically cherry pick which kids they want to protect and which ones they won't. And that is not the way medicine should be done in the United States.
No.
Or anywhere.
Absolutely not. And it's crazy because you're 100% right about that. I know people, reasons that I believe are valid. You just can't. The doctors are terrified. And if you think about how they're shackled to practice medicine the way that they believe they should, how can you uphold an oath when you're also running checks and balances with the Department of Health and, different people that are looking at what you're doing, how many exemptions, what's your vaccine compliance? So it really is super important to maintain these freedoms, every single one of them, because we need all the options, especially as we move into this 2021 COVID landscape that we're now dealing with. That vaccine is terrifying. And it's funny, before this, we were on a call and I was getting text messages from my dad saying can't avoid people because everyone's lining up for them. And I'm like, this is scary to me. It's very scary. Very scary.
Yeah. And that's really true, though, what you said, Steph, is we have to fight really hard to maintain these exemptions and maintain our rights, because once your rights are taken away, it is so much more difficult to get them back.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not only your rights for, vaccine freedom, that's freedom in general. So we find ourselves in a climate a year after the Battle of Trenton. And I've said many times, we won the battle, but make no mistakes, we are at war with the people who are supposed to be in office serving us and our interests and making sure that our freedoms are preserved and upheld according to the standards of the Constitution. And that is not happening right now. When you look at what's happening in the world today on January 13th, 2021, you have censorship at a level that we have never, ever experienced. I mean, the president of the United States, aside from your feelings about him, because people have feelings, he is a polarizing character. I do not always agree with the things that he says and does. I certainly don't agree with what happened at the Capitol last week. But I can't, even with all of that being said, digest and understand how a big tech company like Twitter or Facebook or Google or any of these places can turn around and say, yeah, no, you don't get to talk anymore. You're silenced. You're done. How scary is it for our movement to know that we are being censored and shadow banned, and now seeing that the president of the United States has had his Twitter account, which has been his main source of communication, removed? Parler is completely shut down right now. I mean, talk to me about how you use social media, because I follow you and I get a lot of great information from you. So if you're not following Susie, definitely go on and follow Susie. She's always posting super detailed advocacy information. She posts lots of articles, lots of great things. So find her and friends her. But how concerned are you about the censorship?
I'm extremely concerned. A couple of years ago, Adam Schiff, a legislator, went and said that Facebook needed to start censoring. There has been several situations where people in the or I should say the anti-freedom side of things are asking these social media platforms to censor anyone that has a dissenting opinion. That's extremely dangerous. I mean, if we can't go and do our own research, if we can't go to Google and ask questions, and I mean, Google is basically like the library used to be. So for them to censor out any information that doesn't fit their narrative, I can't think of anything else that is very much more dangerous than that is right now. And it is terrifying to me.
It is. And it's funny because I was looking today for some stuff on protests that happened over the summer, and they actually have fact check markings on these articles to say that since this was written, the story's changed. And, I just, the perception, the division, it all plays into the things that are ultimately going to be at play when our freedom starts to be pulled back more and more. And we're already feeling the clampdown happen. So I think coming back to this anniversary, really thinking about the things that work, like putting structures. I always say this, putting structures in place. That's the key to getting from where you are now to where you want to go. And I remember being very logistically minded back in December and January. I was trying as hard as I could not to be emotional, not to be angry, but to just be a source of information and inspiration to keep people focused on the why. Because for me, the why is the thing that keeps us all engaged in this very, very exhausting, thankless battle that we're all dealing with, that polarizes us from our family members, from our friends. It changes everything about our relationships. And, for a lot of people, the stress and the strain is setting in. And I know for myself, I've had to take mental health days, self-help, self-care days to just navigate through the many changing emotions that I go through on a daily basis, like the range of emojis, all of them. There's all of them in there. For you right now, what are you doing to preserve your self-care, to take care of yourself, to keep yourself going? Because I know listening to people, getting messages, and I'm sure you get them also, people are struggling, and we need our warriors to be strong and to be healthy and to be connected and to be engaged and inspired to continue moving. So what advice would you give someone that's experiencing some burnout?
I would say reach out, connect to people. We have spent the last 10 months basically in isolation, or I shouldn't say we, most of us have. Some people have been living in free states and able to go out and connect with people. But that isolation, the lack of fresh air and vitamin D, these all will lead us to anxiety and depression and a whole host of other issues. So I would really encourage people to connect with your people, reach out and be honest and vulnerable about what you're going through. I know I've definitely had days where I've reached out to you, Steph, and I'm just like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. There's so much going on right now. And it feels like a lot. But when you know that you have people to reach out to that get it and are going to support you and love you where you're at, it definitely helps to just restore that balance in your body and give you the peace to be able to get up the next day and engage in the fight again.
Absolutely. Because truly the support structures and system, like people need to really look at who they're surrounding themselves with and figuring out where to invest your energy and where to withhold it, because there's just certain people that you are never going to convert. They are never going to listen to you. They're never going to hear you. You have to not have those conversations with those people and continue to plant the seeds. And the thing that I always say to people is, you know, if you're attached to a specific outcome where you're expecting for your efforts to have a payoff like that, you're going to be very frustrated for a very long period of time, because this process is like a slow, gentle, nurturing thing where you have to really bring people in and connect them with the community so that they could see that they're not alone. Because for many people, they have stories. They have stories about their children. They have stories about their experiences, but they're afraid to share. And we have to be brave right now. I know that everything seems like it's been turned upside down, but it is courage that is contagious. It is, but that's not the thing that we should be focused on right now. We shouldn't be focused on worrying about catching a contagion. We should take care of our bodies and we should spread courage, because courage and energy is what we need at this point in time more than anything. And that is the recipe and the cure for so many of the things that ail us mentally and physically. It's a heavy time. So one of the things that we talked about, I know we didn't finalize it, but we're going to be hosting some community conversations. And we want to do this for our activists, for our freedom people, for anybody, any mom or dad that just feels that overwhelm, that burnout, that sense of isolation. We want to open up a community for all of you to be able to come into, where we can just talk about what's happening around this country, things that we're concerned about, things that we're worried about, things that we want to celebrate, bills that have been introduced that are favorable for us, things that we want to rage against, bills that are out there that we don't want to have happen. And also just to start to create some community, because the truth is the platforms that we rely on so much, we don't know. You know, at any moment we could sign into these accounts and just be blocked out. So if you're not connected, I suggest you get connected. So talk a little bit about like what your hopes are for our community conversations.
I just want to have a space that we can open up and really give people that chance to talk about how they're feeling and where they're at, and to not be concerned about judgment or be hesitant about sharing those true feelings, because it's hard. You know, social media has created kind of an environment of superficiality, of you post the best looking photo and the best experience that you're going through, and everything's just great and perfectly framed and filtered. And we're not going to do that. We are going to be unfiltered, raw, real people. I have struggles. I'll be sharing those. Steph will be talking about her struggles and the things she goes through. Like, we need to be real and have that real, true connection so that we can get through all of this stuff and celebrate our victories and unite and come together, so that when we get on the other side of this, that we can just be that much stronger and that much more connected and grounded and move forward in such a powerful way. So I'm super excited for this.
Me too. So there's going to be an announcement coming once we can nail down a time, West Coast, East Coast, and figure out what time we want to do this and the frequency of it. It's going to be happening in the next week. So just look out for that. It will be a Zoom. I don't know what's happening back there, but there's a lot of things falling in the background. I don't know. It will be a Zoom that you'll have to register for. We're not going to be doing these conversations on Facebook. I'm going to be moving a lot of the things that I'm doing to Zoom so that I can get off of this platform and start to migrate people. And I know Susie and I have both had this conversation. It's important for us to really begin to start to transition to these alternative social media platforms when they're available again, and to start to put some structures in place, because we cannot take for granted this platform that we're on right now. Wherever you're watching it from. So stay tuned for that. We're going to come to you with these community conversations, and know that there will be action items that you can walk away with, things that you can do for the movement, for yourself, for your family, health tips, things that we're doing. Susie has so much to share. I have so much to share. Between the two of us, we are going to cover so many topics that are so relevant for the people that are watching this right now. So,
yeah, I'm really excited about that. I love the fact that we're both health coaches. I just became a health coach during the lockdown because I was like, I need to do something. And I want to be able to empower people to take their health back into their own hands. You don't have to be scared right now. And I think that that's one of the things that really helped me through this whole pandemic and everything that was going on, is I knew that I had the tools within myself that I could take care of my family. And so that's something I'm really excited about talking to people about, like the foundations of health and understanding that you can be empowered. You don't have to be scared.
Yeah, and you've done some incredible work with your son. So I'm really looking forward to you sharing some of the things that you've done, because I know that we have a lot of people that come into these conversations that have vaccine injured children. We all have gradients of vaccine injury, and some people don't even know and associate it with that. So I think it's going to be a really great thing for people to start to open their awareness to things that maybe weren't there before, and, you know, be able to share what's working for us. Because the truth is, we're all connected in the sense that we want to raise our families happy and healthy and the natural way. And that's really what all of us have in common, the thread that binds. So we want to provide information, and more importantly, a place of community, no judgment, like you said, Susie. I love that you said that. And to just start to create that connection. So on this day, we thought there was nothing better we could do than celebrate, reflect, think about where we are now, and then move forward into some place where we have hope, we have a community that's got our back, and we can start to head into a place of freedom in 2021, get back to living normally. I have a new term that I coined, and I said it yesterday and someone was cracking up. Raw dogging the oxygen. Okay? Like, let's get back to raw dogging the oxygen and not focusing on focusing on all this craziness that does not make us healthier. Breathe in the fresh air, take your vitamins, do the things, hug somebody. Hugs are so healing. Human touch is so healing. We need these things in our life. So we're going to do a Zoom version. We'll all put our hands out and, like, you know, like that song. What's that song? Sweet Caroline, Touching Hands. Virtually. Touching hands.
Oh my gosh.
I should have told you, sometimes I come out with it. It's like talking to my girlfriend. I can't be all like super, you know, it's you.
I know. And that's the thing, is that's what I want people to realize. It's like, you know, we can be all prim and proper when we're doing our interviews and we're, you know, we're trying to bring information to the world. But in these Zooms, we're going to be much more open and authentically us as parents, as you know, partners, as friends, and everything else. So I'm really excited for it, because I think that it's going to be exciting.
I think that there's going to be lots of laughing too, which we all need laughter in our life right now. So I'll have to make sure that I bring up that phrase again, because it definitely it gets a laugh every time I say it. I saw it on a meme and I was like, this is great. The memes do so many good things for me. I mean, it's really true. Like, you just want to breathe the fresh air. So we're going to talk about all these things and so much more to come. If you have anything that you know you need support with, anything that you would love to see us discuss, please feel free to reach out to either one of us. We are here to serve and support our warriors. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Susie, for being here, for celebrating this most special anniversary of the Battle of Trenton with me. The one thing, well, there's several things, but I'm so thankful that this work brought me to you, that we have this relationship and this friendship, and I know that I can reach out to you and that you're there for me, and vice versa. It definitely makes me feel a lot more comfortable about the uncomfortable right now. Yeah.
The feelings are very mutual, my friend. I'm so thankful to be here tonight and celebrate this incredible victory that we've had and create this new community moving forward. I think it's going to be amazing. I'm really excited, and I don't know exactly what it's going to entail yet, but that's a great thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to jump in and invite everybody to jump in with us.
And that's part of like my thing for the new year, is I'm not so much focused on the how, I'm more focused on the why. Like, the why is the guiding force behind all of this. And I know that there's a need, and we just have to fill it. And we're going to figure it out together. We're going to do this together. We're going to create this amazing community and just be able to bring you value, but also bring you some hope and some laughter and some friendship. So nobody else that I'd want to do this with. We've been talking about doing something. Once the world is back to normal, that retreat that we've been talking about.
Forever.
Forever. I mean, when we can fly again, I'm totally going somewhere tropical. We're going to put one of those umbrellas in the drinks and just do some yoga and meditate and goal set and talk. It's going to be so juicy and so wonderful.
Amazing.
Praying for better days ahead. So thank you so much for being here. For all of my warriors listening, know that the times are challenging, but it is these times that make us stronger. I said the other night in my yoga class when I was teaching, it's in those moments of the greatest discomfort where the magic happens. So even though it feels really dark and heavy, magic is happening in the background if you allow it to. So try your hardest to find something every day that brings you joy and gratitude. And some days it's harder than others. And be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself, and know that this time in our lives is bringing up emotions that many of us have probably never felt. So there are going to be days that are ugly and really unpleasant and awful, and that's okay. You have a new day, a new moment, a new breath to do something different and to make a new choice, to find a friend, to build a community, to create something that makes you feel good. So hopefully this 45 minutes that we spent together brought you some smiles and some laughs and some hopes. And I loved talking about last year, and I'm looking forward to killing another bill and uniting and doing something good together. I know that anything's possible with our people. So continue to show up, stand up, rise up, be the change, and know that what we're doing is making a huge difference, not only for our children, but for the children that aren't even here yet. So I thank you all so much for your support, for your love, for your messages. It means the world to me. If you're not currently connected with me, please text 33777, the word revolution, and that is going to put you in touch with all of the freedom updates. If you need some yoga and self-care in your life, you can text yoga to 55444. I am also committed to bringing you guys some yoga and self-care tips in 2021. So I will be doing live and virtual classes diaper free. So stay tuned for those details, but it's going to be for a very select few individuals who reach out to me. It's not something that I will be posting publicly here on the communist platforms that we're currently streaming on. So make sure that you're signed up for all of those details. And I love you all so much. I love you, Susie. Thank you for being here. And we will be back with more details. So have a beautiful rest of the night. Happy anniversary, the Battle of Trenton. We killed the bill, and we will do it again if we need to. Let's stay united. All right.
Well,
bye.
I love you. Good night, guys. Thanks so much for being here.
Good night.